if you're creative, AI is going to take your job, right? You hear that all the time. It gets tiring. And first of all, no, it's not. Okay. It's not. It's not. But there's a way bigger threat that it's going to create for us that we'll all have to figure out how to get over. But let's first talk about this, right? Now, the current state of it. Now, I know this is early days and it always gets better, but it doesn't. Remember how technology works is right. There's this big, explosive, oh my God, leap forward. And then there's incremental steps after. Think of the iPhone, right? We had the iPhone, and then, hey, the camera's better. Battery life's better. Sure, some stuff's better, but what got better was we learned how to use it, and we learned how we wanted to use it, so we created apps on top of that, right? And so that happens with every technology. It's the same thing happened with VR. And what I'm seeing today is happening all the time now with AI that I saw in VR was these little tag-alongs, these little people that kind of push this narrative forward. So first, I was looking to figure out how to do closed captions in a different way. This may or may not have closed captions on it. We'll see. I didn't really feel like a great way. But I was looking at CapCut. And they're like, hey, we can make AI just out of a script. So I thought, oh, I'll take a look. What is this? So first of all, I think if you agree to CapCut now, they're going to suck in your stuff and make it part of the AI corpus. I'm not using CapCut. Someone correct me on that if I'm wrong. But it prompted me to say, pick a TV show or movie. Okay, I wasn't going to do either one of those, but all right, let's do it. The A-Team. The A-Team. I didn't say the original A-Team, which is what I meant. But the A-Team. The good thing is, as a human, I know there's the original A-Team and then a bad movie A-Team. And I would want to differentiate between the two. The AI is not worried about either one of those. And then I brought up drinking, and then it has a highlight. It asks you a highlight. Here's the image, right? And it's drinking milk. If you've ever watched the TV show, there's a thing about drinking milk. The AI, this okay. I didn't pick the voice. It picked the voice on its own. It also picked the soundtrack. That was all. I removed the soundtrack because I thought maybe that's copyright protected. Like it matters. But it does. But here's a little clip.
Welcome, movie and TV enthusiasts. Today, we're diving into the thrilling world of the A-Team.
Okay, that is horrible. That is unwatchably horrible. I mean, the voice alone, but also it has nothing to do with anything. And it talks about the dim-witted drinking milk to the fierce and loyal Captain Zeta. Who? What? I have no idea. Right, it is just not going to happen. But you hear all of these crazy people pushing AI forward. It's inevitable. Oh my God, we have to have AI. We have to have AI. So some of it is this, and this is the crazy thing that I found out when I was working on VR. Was these weird hanger-on peoples that exist. So here, let me put this picture of a post someone made on LinkedIn. Right. So now. This is a professor, right? Oh my gosh, a professor's talking. We better listen up. He's saying, hey, there's this software that you can actually, if you create art, you can actually poison the art so that the AI can't use it. That's really good. That gives agency to the artist. You should use this if you're an artist, right? And his response to it is, so many unintended consequences in what is simply an inevitability. One which will still need to be addressed somehow, not just like this, right? So he's saying, first of all, AI is inevitable, and you artists are all just going to have all of your work stolen, and you're not allowed to fight it. Well, he's a professor, though, so he must be a deep thinker. He's not a professor. Right. Well, but he's a tech guy. He's an engineer. He's a scientist. He's one of us. No, he works for a defense contractor. BAE, right? That's his job, right? There's a whole bunch of people you will see in the tech industry that are like him, who feed off of what comes out of this, so they just push forward every crazy thing without any, like I asked him about this. I asked him on a follow-up and he's not responded because he doesn't care. He doesn't engage. He's not having conversation. He's just promoting. So there are a lot of wild promoters out there. You will see a whole ton of them. I won't mention a bunch of the individuals because you know them the instant you hear them talking. And if somebody goes, oh, they're smart, you know that person has no idea what they're talking about because they're just listening to these talking heads who have no practical knowledge about AI. Right. But then my favorite lately, there's this whole thing of a lot of the way journalism approaches this. Now, there's really good journalism out there. I'm not attacking journalism as a whole. Mainstream journalism really does a good job of things. I think my favorite, though, is ProPublica by far. But there's a lot of essentially fan press that comes up. So it has nothing it's about. It's access journalism, right? And they have no care about ever breaking a story or doing actual reporting. What they want to do is be buddies with the people in technology so they can raise them up. We saw this with Sam Altman when he got kicked out of OpenAI, right? All of a sudden there's like this groundswell of like, oh, he's one of us. We got to pull for this guy. Why? What did he do? What did he do to deserve that? You can say what the company did was bad. Sure. But like, what did he do? Nothing. But yet you get this groundswell of like, oh my God, our heroes, right? And this weird hero worship. And they don't do any reporting. They don't do any analysis of this. They just promote this, right? And we saw this in VR all the time. I would be like, I'm a VR proponent and you're talking crazy. That's never going to happen. VR is not going to be bigger than cell phones in 2 years, right? But you would go on stage and there'd just be people there and this is what they do. This is their whole thing. Partially because you know what the greatest gig in tech industry that people don't talk about? It's advisor. It's advisor. Because either people just throw you a bunch of money. I've been paid gobs of money to go places for like a day. Also, sometimes they give you equity. And all of a sudden, like 2 years later, you find out like, hey, oh my God, I got this chunk of change for that? Really? All right, cool, right? But so nobody wants the down guy. Nobody wants the disbeliever, right? They only want the person hyping it, right? And we saw this in Web3, and we saw this with NFTs, the same thing, right? Like, oh, you had to be a true believer because that's how you're going to get in. That's how you're going to make your money. And it is just, oh my God, remember, this is the output right now.
There's something for everyone to enjoy in this exhilarating series. One of the most memorable aspects of The Team is its incredible soundtrack.
Don't be a true believer. You don't have to believe that. That's horrible. Oh my God, is that bad? Oh my God, is that bad? But now it's gotten worse, right? Because what they're trying to do, and they're trying to get you to love them, is because they're saying stuff like this, right? That it's impossible to create AI tools like ChatGPT without copyright material, OpenAI says. And you know what? My arsonist business is really just getting hampered by those pesky firefighters and those laws against burning houses down. Yes, you're doing something illegal. Because you know what? Out of one side of the world, the tech industry is talking this and being like, oh, of course we should let them do that. That would only be fair. It's inevitable. Nothing's inevitable. You have then articles like this, right? This is just from last year, or 2 years ago now, because we just had a date change. But you know what I'm saying? It's last year. Major music labels awarded $47 million over privacy because an ISP did not stop the users from pirating. So they're still wanting to get that money for the copyright. And this is, music is essentially free now, right? Yeah, I think you can just ad-supported Spotify or whatever that you can just use and listen, and it's free. But yet, they're suing $47 million? Like, right, so they want it both ways. They is vague, everybody, right? But this is the tech industry right now because you don't have a lot of people inside of it calling out the BS, calling out that AI is insanely overhyped in its ability of what it can do in any reasonable manner, right? All it can do is easily do a lot of things, right? And you're going to see a whole bunch of people. Like if you go now search on AI on TikTok or YouTube, you will see just a whole bunch of people showing these like little snippets of this little like, oh, if you look this way and don't look over there, and that's not good, right? But you're going to just keep getting this. But what all of this is going to cause and what the real problem is going to be is it's going to be then discoverability inside of this. We're going to see like Etsy. Etsy used to be cool. Etsy was where I found so much cool stuff for friends and gifts and just art for, I'm going to hang it up in the office eventually. It's cat stuff, of course. But it was a great place to find stuff. But then they opened it up and they let all the drop shippers and everybody else flood it. And now you can't find anything, right? It's just a swarm of everything. And eventually it'll be something MAGA related because the MAGA people are nuts and they buy anything with red on it. But like that's what's going to happen with content creation, right? If we see this many, like already there's so many movies on all the streaming sites, I don't know what to go see, right? And it just gets harder and harder for discovery. And it's going to be harder and harder for discovery of all things creative. We're already seeing that on Steam with games, but that's going to be the real thing. And that's what AI is going to power, is just it's going to power junk. So here, you can actually do something and you can reject that. You can say no. You can say, we aren't going to watch this crap. We're not going to listen to this crap. We're not going to play this crap, right? And that's, as a consumer, you can reject that, and that will affect change. You can make a difference. Drop the streaming company that just fills it with a bunch of AI stuff, right? Stop reading the newspapers. Stop listening to ESPN because they start doing AI stuff, right? So as consumers, you have a lot of power. And if you don't think you have a lot of power, let's go back. And I don't think I've used this example, but it's a really good example. I make videos and I delete them, and this one's in there. Smoking indoors. Man, you were never gonna get rid of smoking indoors in the 80s. That was an impossibility. Like, oh my God, we're gonna have smoking indoors forever. Oh, sure, we get out of planes, but restaurants and bars are where you smoke and drink. Come on, it's a classic. And then I worked at a nonprofit, and one of the guys was like, one of the thinkers ahead of what we're gonna protest and work against. And he's like, oh, we're gonna work against smoking in bars. I'm like, oh, you're crazy. I don't smoke, but like, I've been a bartender. I've like lived in bars. Like, no. And do you see smoking in bars in the U.S. anymore? No. In fact, if I see you smoking in the U.S. now, I just think you're kind of dim, because they've done such a good job of winning that over and taking that out. Right now, that's all that other things people do, which I still think you're dim, but whatever. But we have power, and it's power, and this is why platforms like TikTok and YouTube and those other ones work really well as a way to say no, and to say no at all, right? And I think Wizards of the Coast just had this, where they, in some marketing material, had some AI, and some of their artists who they want to work with, that they love, were like, yeah, we're never going to work with you again. You're using AI. And it looks like crap. And it did. And it was lazy. And they said, oh, it wasn't us. It wasn't us. We don't use AI. We never use AI. And it ends up it was a contractor, right? They should have first looked up. They have since apologized and said they'll never use it because the backlash was so great. So good job, everybody. Seriously, good job. Like, that's how you stop this flood of crap. It is the only way to do it. And we all need to do it, because otherwise this will be a team.
The world is their stage, and they're about to show the world what they're made of.